Coming up on Oakdale Update, we're going to learn about upcoming parks and rec events. And we'll talk with an Oakdale resident about beekeeping. Stay tuned, Oakdale Update is straight ahead. Hello and welcome to Oakdale Update. I'm your host, Frank Orsello. This is the City of Oakdale's news and information program about your community. There are a number of exciting events coming up in Oakdale through the Parks and Recreation Department. With me now to tell us more is Recreation Superintendent Julie Williams. Julie, thanks for coming back on the show. It's a couple times you've been on, isn't it?
Yep, thanks for having me.
Okay.
Good to be back.
All right, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background.
Sure. Well, I am the Recreation Superintendent for the City of Oakdale. I've been here 16 years.
Wow, have you really?
Yeah, I have. Yep, started as an administrative assistant, worked up to recreation coordinator, and now I manage the department.
Okay. What other jobs do you have as the rec superintendent?
So basically manage the department, but I also do a lot of the programming. We do have only 3 full-time staff, so we manage and do all the programming.
So do you get together with the staff and decide what we're going to have coming up?
We do,
the
yes.
New things?
Yep. Have regular meetings, and we kind of as a group plan on what we want to do for each season.
Where do you come up with the ideas? I mean, do you see what other communities are doing?
We do. We see what other communities are doing. We look for new trends that are upcoming. If anybody has any ideas, new ideas, we're welcome to hear everything.
Okay, good. All right, now coming up, you've got a lot of things, a lot of events coming up.
We do.
So I'll give you the title and you tell us all about it, okay?
Sounds good, yep.
Okay, we're starting out with the Flashlight Pumpkin Hunt. What's that all about?
Yes, so that is our upcoming fall program, the Flashlight Pumpkin Hunt. This is our 3rd year that we're doing this program. It'll be held on Wednesday, October 21st, and it's from 7 to 8:30 for kids ages up to 12 years old. It's $12 for them to sign up. And basically what we do, we wait until it's dark and we take the kids out with flashlights into our prairie in the Oakdale Nature Preserve, and they hunt for pumpkins with their flashlights in a luminary lit field.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of spooky, isn't it?
It is. It's spooky and fun. Kids have a blast. We have lots of things going on. They get to find their pumpkin, bring that back to decorate that. We have a bonfire. We've got a family DJ. We've got snacks and games and lots of other fun
Is this
events.
in the immediate area around the Discovery Center?
It is, correct. Yes.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun.
It is. It's a blast. Kids love it.
Yeah.
Their parents come with them. There's no charge for the parents.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's a great time.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It is. Yep.
Good. Okay, now the next one is the indoor market. Tell us about that.
Correct. So our indoor market is coming up. First market date is Saturday, December 5th, and that runs for 7 Saturdays throughout the winter and the spring months. Last date is March 26th. So basically what that is, we've got a different variety of local vendors that come in and sell their merchandise, lots of different things. Gourmet foods, we've got cheese, we've got meats, we've got jewelry, we've got gourmet breads, lots of different items. Typically, we have 20 to 25 vendors that fill the Discovery Center.
What are those dates again?
It's starting on December 5th and 7 Saturdays that run through March 26th.
Interesting.
Yep.
What's the cost to the vendor to get a booth?
It's $100 for a booth. And people can just come and shop. There's no charge just to shop. It's held from 9 to noon on Saturdays.
Is it? It's in the Discovery Center
again? It is in the Discovery Center. Yep. We take up the whole Discovery Center. Fill that with all the.
So there's enough room to get everybody in.
There is plenty of room.
Does it get crowded at all? With people?
It is a popular event, so it does get busy. But get there early.
It has been successful too, my understanding.
It has been very successful. It has, yes.
Okay. All right. The next one is the indoor garage sale. Tell us about that.
So that is another event that we do, winter event. Kind of gets everybody out from the cold inside. All those garage sellers that either want to sell their merchandise or buy merchandise. We have that in March on a Saturday morning from 9 to 1. And people can rent a table for $20, and basically that gives them 2 8-foot tables to sell their merchandise. Or if you just want to buy items, you can come and shop as well. Lots of different variety of
You know,
items.
when you go to a garage sale in a garage,
Yes.
there's a lot of stuff there.
There is.
So how much stuff can you put on a table?
You can use the table, you can use underneath the table. So depending on how much you have, you can fill it. You don't need to use both tables, but you can load it up fairly well.
Really?
Yeah.
So what are people getting rid of? Pretty nice stuff, I suppose?
It's everything and anything from antiques to books to movies, clothes, kids' items, lots of different things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what's that cost for to rent a booth there?
So it's $20 to rent a booth.
$20.
Yeah, and I will say if you are interested in selling your merchandise, that does fill up right away. So we're probably half full already with that event.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And that has been very successful too?
Very successful, yes.
Ooh, good.
Yeah.
Boy, you're coming up with some good ideas here,
Good.
Julie. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you.
Good.
All right, so we have a visit from Santa.
We do.
Obviously, that's going to be in December.
That is December.
Oh.
So, yep, what we do, we partner with the Oakdale Fire Department. So they decorate a fire truck, and what we do is load that with Santa, and we make 5 random stops along Hadley. And he stops at the different stops and
What do you
takes
mean now? The
pictures.
fire truck does?
The fire truck with Santa will stop at various stops along
Oh,
Hadley, which
that's
are
right.
predetermined, and that is in our on our website and in our newsletter as well.
Mm-hmm.
But kids can just stop and wait at their location, and Santa will make a stop at each location, come out, take pictures, hand out candy canes. He'll stay there for about 10 minutes or so, and then move on to the next location.
Interesting. How many
Yeah.
stops does he make then?
5 stops.
5 stops.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you about advertising. Remind me of that. Okay, then the next one is, well, I'm sorry, getting back to Santa.
Yes.
Does he give out candies and presents, or what does he
Gives
do?
out just candy canes.
Candy
Candy
canes.
canes and takes pictures.
So the parents can be there and take pictures
Parents
with
can
Santa.
be there, yep.
That been successful too?
That has. So this is our second year of doing this.
Okay,
Yeah,
good
so
deal.
it's a newer program that we're doing.
Okay. All right, now the last one is Winter Wonderland. Tell me
Yes.
about that.
So this is our biggie of the winter. And actually it's the biggest special event that we do every year. It's held on Saturday, December 19th, and that's from 9 to 1. We partner with the Chamber on that, the Platinum Bank, Maplewood Oakdale Lions Club, and obviously the Recreation Department. But what we do, it's a free event to the public. They can come, and we've got Santa, we've got horse-drawn hay rides, we've got bonfire with s'mores, snowshoeing, lots of different activities, free breakfast and lunch, and actually the whole event is free. Yeah, lots of different events going on that day.
So a lot of businesses are contributing for that
Well,
one?
through the chamber, they are,
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now that one is held over at Walton Park, right?
Nope, that one is at the Discovery Center.
is?
And the Nature Preserve as well.
Is
Yeah.
there enough room?
Well, it's run for 4 hours, and typically we have over 1,000 people come through those 4 hours. But really successful, but great free event for the community. But yeah, there is room.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's outside and inside as well.
I don't have any kids left at home, so
You still might have fun.
Okay, all right. Hey, now how do you advertise all these?
Well, we have it in the Oakdale Update, all of our information.
Mm-hmm.
We also have it on our website. We do Facebook. We do lots of signage throughout the city as well. We do email blasts for a variety of different groups. We just try to get our name out there, any possible way. We have ads in the Review. We send out things to the Pioneer Press. So we
Jeez,
try to get our
that
names
far,
out there.
huh?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
This is good community business. That's a good thing to do.
Absolutely.
All right. So now that takes care of winter. Now, what about spring coming up?
So we're starting to plan for spring, and actually that planning takes place in December, and so that newsletter won't come out until mid-January. But right now we're actively starting to program for spring and summer.
So, how much is your budget? For this advertising and that sort of thing. I mean, it doesn't.
For
come cheap.
advertising, no. We typically we've got between a $4,000 and $5,000 budget, but we also look for sponsors as well throughout the business community. So that helps us with that.
Okay. So, working with the council, how's that go with this? Or do you go through the council? I mean, they must kind of okay some of this.
They do okay that. Yep, they okay our budget, and if there's needs to be tweaking for a variety of programs, we look at that. But they do approve that ultimately.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Julie, we are out of time, but I want to thank you for joining us today and filling us in what's going on in our community.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of Oakdale Update in just a minute.
Some of today's veterans have a new battle to fight. It's unemployment.
The unemployment rate of today's veterans coming home from war is 12%.
That's twice the Heartland average.
Tribute to the troops and the armed forces are asking for your help. Hire today's veteran.
Visit positivelyminnesota.com/veterans.
Welcome back to Oakdale Update. Beekeeping is becoming a very popular hobby and is also important for the environment. I'm now joined by A.J. Moses from Oakdale, who has been a beekeeper for many years. A.J., thanks for joining us on Oakdale Update.
Well, thank you.
Okay. First of all, give me a little bit of your background.
Well, my first career was military service, and I spent the rest of my career in federal service. Retired about 10 years ago, and started giving things back to my community. I joined the Environmental Management Commission in Oakdale, and I've done work for Habitat for Humanity. Went through the Master Gardener program, which is an all-volunteer program, and the Master Naturalist program in Minnesota, which is also an all-volunteer program.
Sure.
I picked up beekeeping about 8 years ago. I was inspired by my father-in-law, who had kept bees for over 70 years.
Okay, that was my next question. How did you get involved with that? So tell us a little bit about that, your background there.
Yeah. Very often we visited my wife's dad in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and I was always intrigued by his hobby, which was 4 or 5 hives in his backyard. And he was very meticulous and very caring with these creatures. They take a little bit of care. And I thought, you know, that's a really important aspect of his gardening and our environment. So yeah, he was instrumental in getting me going.
Okay, so then you came back here and you got a hive or 2 or 3 or started?
Right. And I recommend this to people. Always take a class. I took the University of Minnesota Beekeeping in Northern Climes class. And it really is important to get a good foundation of the science and the art of beekeeping. And from there, I purchased equipment and some packages of bees to put in the equipment. I kept them at a farm out near Hastings on a friend's property at first. But as I expanded, then I brought a few to my home. I got a permit from the city of Oakdale. And
really?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a dumb question here, but what exactly is beekeeping? I mean, does that just mean you keep them in your backyard? You got a hive or 2 or 3, or what do you do with them? I mean, go out and look at them, and do you pet them? Or are they like doggies in the backyard in the kennel, or what?
Not quite.
What do you do with, what exactly is beekeeping?
I don't think you can call them domesticated critters.
Okay, all right.
They can live independently, but beekeeping is a sort of a business of hive management, and it's a bit of monitoring how they're doing, how their health is. There are tests you can do for some of the diseases that they get, just like you and I get colds and things. There are varroa mite tests for some these mites or parasites that they get. It's like a wood tick on us. But so by doing that, you enhance their chance of living from year to year and not just collapsing.
So do you have hives at home?
Yeah, I have 2 at home. And I keep one at the Oakdale Nature Center as well as a display.
Now, so what do they do? I mean, are they able to get in and out of this hive?
Yes.
So they're free to come and go, is that correct?
Right. The hive, and depending on the time of the year, you restrict or increase the access. In the winter, you want a restricted access, but they have to have airflow through. They're living, breathing creatures. But in the winter, you restrict that access just a little bit. So they don't have quite as much ventilation to heat. They have to keep themselves warm enough not to freeze. And in the summer, you want it pretty open so they can sort of condition the inside and keep it a little bit cooler than perhaps the outside.
So what do? They leave in the morning and come back at night, that kind of?
They leave and return all through the day. A foraging outing may be a couple of hours, or it may be 15 or 20 minutes.
Okay.
They may visit up to 50 flowers on a single
Really?
outing. Mhm.
Okay, so and do you then they come back and they make honey
Right.
in their hive?
Right, and the field bees, when they return, they don't actually store the honey themselves. They pass the honey and the pollen on to the hive bees, which are worker bees inside the hive, and they store it, process it, dry it. Nectar comes in at about 80% moisture, and they dry it down to about 17%.
They do this on their own. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, you don't have to train them.
Unbelievable. They're good pets if that's, I mean, and how much honey do you get out of your, 2 hives you have?
Well, a hive will probably produce 50 or 60 pounds on average. Some produce quite a bit more. This year, I've harvested about 1,000 pounds. I have more than just those hives. I have about 25 right now.
You do, where are those?
Most of them are at Whistling Well Farm. It's a pick-your-own apple orchard between Afton and Hastings on St. Croix Trail.
When these bees go out and pollinate, where do they go? What do they go? Just to flowers, or what do they do?
Well, they have one interesting aspect about that. If they go to dandelions, then they pollinate. Typically, they pollinate dandelions on that entire outing. But they well, I say pollinate. They collect, and pollination is incidental to them. But they typically go to a single species of flower over and over again on a single flight. But they'll visit many, many species of flowers.
So what do? They pick up this, my understanding is they pick up the pollination on their feet or something, and they bring it to someplace else? And
Yeah, they have like little sacs on their back legs, and the pollen sticks to their furry bodies, and they brush it back into little lumps on their legs, and that's how they carry it back. And the pollen is as critical to them as the nectar that they collect from the inside of the flower, because it's their protein source.
Okay.
Nectar's carbohydrate. And
so there's a difference between pollination and collecting nectar, right?
Right.
So it's 2 different things.
Yeah, and the pollination, once again, is incidental to the process of collecting the nectar.
What about crops? Now, how important are bees to crops? And then when I say crops, what are we talking about? Wheat, corn?
You know, most grain crops are not real attractive to bees because they don't supply much nectar in their flowers.
Okay.
They get a little pollen from corn crops, but primarily we're talking about fruits and vegetables. And about 1/3 of our fruit and vegetable crop is dependent upon pollination by insects.
Fruits and vegetables. So
Yes.
what's apples and what else?
Right. Cucumbers, it takes 8 visits by a bee to fully pollinate a cucumber on average. You've seen curly cucumbers. That's because they were inadequately pollinated.
Really?
Right. The seeds on one side didn't fully form, and the seeds on the outside did, and yeah. So that's yeah. And many squash right now they're still pollinating pumpkins if they're in the field and blooming. Yeah.
What do bees do in the wintertime when it's cold and there's no flowers or anything out there? What do they do?
Well, you know, they don't really have a form of hibernation. What they do is cluster around their surplus honey that they put up over the summer. And they keep that cluster at about 57 or 58 degrees all winter long. Now, 3 inches away inside the same hive, it may be near the same temperature as outdoors. It could be, 5 degrees or 10 degrees or even a little cooler. But they keep that cluster, and they keep working themselves in and out of the outside of the cluster. But they vibrate their bodies, that burns calories and creates a little bit of heat.
So they eat the honey?
This honey that they've stored for themselves for the winter.
So they eat that all winter long?
Yeah.
And if they get outside of this cluster, then they'll die?
They would succumb to the cold, right. But if you get a 40-degree day or even a little cooler, they'll actually fly out of the hive for a cleansing flight and then come right back in.
What is that? Cleansing what?
They will not go to the bathroom in their hive.
Oh, no
Cleansing
kidding.
flight is, yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you.
So I mean, they'll wait all winter if they have to, but you get a 40-degree day, you'll see bees outside.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Interesting. Say, what's the difference between a bee and a hornet?
You know, there are different families in the structure of things. Bees are a pretty small group, honeybees anyway. But there are over 400 types of bees in Minnesota. Hornets, wasps, bees, and some stinging flies. Well, honeybees are imported from Europe, for one. They were not native here. And they're the only insect that we have that produces food that people consume. People eat insects, but they produce food that people eat, and that's, I think, a real important difference.
Do wasps, do they pollinate too?
Yeah.
So they're all those type of bees. They
pollinate some, but nothing like honeybees.
It's not their total job.
Right. They're primarily insectivores. They're very beneficial insects because they control everything from houseflies to aphids on our plants and so on. They're really beneficial insects.
Okay. Now, a lot of, I know there's regular commercial people who go around in trucks with bees, and they go around and pollinate fields. They travel from here to California, I guess, right?
Yes.
So tell me about that. What's that all about?
Actually, I tried shipping a couple of years. It was pretty hard on the bees. They came back less robust than I would have expected. But it takes many, many hundreds of thousands of hives just to pollinate the almond crop. And a lot of beekeepers will consolidate with other beekeepers, ship from one farm to the next. One of the things that's really hard on the bees with that is they're involved in monoculture. You really have only one flower type for a couple of weeks during that pollination period. There's nothing growing under those trees, no dandelions or clover or anything like that. And I like to put it this way, if you were restricted to a diet of just potatoes, you probably wouldn't thrive for very long. And I think that's one of the hardest things for the bees, that single source for nectar and pollen. Over and over again, they go from the oranges to the almonds to the grapes to whatever's next, apples, yeah.
But is that the best thing to do? I mean, what else can they do?
I don't know how we could manage that kind of monoculture without moving the bees in there to pollinate. Those trees don't self-pollinate. So do we do without the almonds and the oranges, or do we? Yeah.
What a interesting concept there.
There are parts of the world where they hand pollinate.
Yeah.
Because they don't have enough bees.
I'll be darned. Interesting. Now, you know what? We're running out of time here, so I want to get a couple things in. Tell us the role of the queen bee. What is her role?
There are 3 bees in the hive. There's a male, which is a drone, and then there are about 50,000 workers in a healthy hive, a couple hundred males. And then there's one queen. And her sole role is to lay eggs. She'll lay about 2,000 a day. And that's what it takes to keep that critical mass so that hive can not only survive, but thrive and grow. So she is an egg-laying machine.
Really?
She does one mating flight in her life, and she can live up to 5 years, although 2 years is more typical. But in that, she stores the sperm in a special pouch inside.
So she mates just one time a year, you said?
But with multiple drones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just one mating flight. She will go out, do her mating, and come back, and she stays in the hive the rest of her life.
So she goes out and mates, she doesn't do it in the hive?
Right, yeah. Because very often, if she's raised within the hive, this is a nature thing, then she would be related to all those drones. So she flies a distance from the hive looking for non-related drones to mate.
What would happen if the queen bee died, just from whatever, and she died in the hive? Would they go get another queen, or
It's really dependent on time of year. If it happens during the winter and there are no eggs in the hive will collapse because there's no way to raise a new queen. But if there are fresh eggs in the hive because it's spring or summer or even early fall, the hive will raise a new queen. They feed several selected eggs a special excretion called royal jelly, and the larvae that's fed this royal jelly will develop into queens.
Well, we're running out of time here, but I want to get one more good question in.
Okay.
My understanding is bees are big trouble. They're dying off, and I'm going to ask what your opinion is, what's killing them, and I'm sure you don't have the total answer because I'm sure science has been working on this for a couple of years now, haven't they?
Right.
So what's your theory?
And it's not simple, but there are 4 main vectors involved in that. There are parasites like the varroa mite, trachea mite. There are diseases like American foul brood and chalk brood, and nosema is a stomach virus. And there are a couple of other things. The monoculture, they don't have a variety of diet. We mow the ditch weeds, we keep the dandelions out of our turf and or wherever, and then there can be pesticides, and you know, any one of them can be the tipping point. But you know, the alarming thing is that since the 40s, bees have been collapsing slowly a little bit, but the increase in that rate is picking up. And some of the more persistent and late versions of pesticides are very persistent. The bees track them into the hive becomes more toxic.
So the whole thing's infected then, huh?
Yeah, and they all get sick and die.
I'll be there. So what can a person do in their backyard, or you know, to help?
Oh.
Don't cut your dandelions, or what? I mean,
I dig mine, but after they've bloomed.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of native plants are good for our pollinators, not just our honeybees, but all of our pollinators. And there are many, many pollinators besides bees. So native plantings in your yard are excellent. These plants are very robust. They evolved here.
What are you talking about, flowers?
Right, yeah, everything from milkweeds and Joe Pye weed, liatris, and there are some cultivars. Some of the sedums are very good for bees. And I think another big one is reduce the use of pesticides. Really, if you see a few wasps or a few hornets, it's not a sign that you've got a problem. They're there foraging on the aphids that are eating your plants, or the flies perhaps, or something. So don't think of insects always as pests, but as beneficial contributors to our environment.
So when I see a dandelion in my yard, I shouldn't spray it with Weed Be Gone?
Boy, that stuff can be pretty hard on not just the bees, but the little nematodes and things that break down other things in the soil. Yeah, I dig mine, but it,
Okay,
you know.
I don't know. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
Weed Be Gone is sure easy to use.
Yeah.
Okay, we're out of time here, but I just want you to, you have something coming up here, Pollinator Policy Forum. Tell us quickly about that.
Okay, it's coming up at 6:30 p.m. on October 22nd at the Maplewood Civic Center.
Community Center.
Community Center,
yes.
Thank you. And it's hosted by a couple of our representatives, and the public's invited. There are going to be speakers from the University of Minnesota and local beekeepers and so on. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be an excellent event.
Okay.
There's one other event coming up yet today.
What's that?
1 p.m. down by the airport. There's a Beekeepers for Veterans event kicking off. So, well,
Okay.
there's a lot going on, Frank, right now for bees. Thank you.
Well, you keep the city informed, and so they can keep it in the Oakdale Update paper, right?
Okay.
So let us know. Okay, I want to thank you for joining us, and you sure know your business. I got to tell you that.
Well, thank you.
And you really helped us today understand bees.
Thank you for having me on.
That's all we have time for this month on Oakdale Update. For everyone at the City of Oakdale, thanks for watching.